Next one. I don't need to go to visit schools until I get accepted. Fact or fiction? This is absolutely fiction for several different reasons. So, first of all, let's talk about something called demonstrated interest. Anybody know what demonstrated interest is, other than Linda? Anybody know what demonstrated interest is? So let's talk about demonstrated interest. This is exactly that. A student demonstrates an interest in a college. So what happens? When those admissions counselors are in the room, raising their hand on whether to accept your child or not, and I've spoken to admissions counselors, it's one of the things I do. I visit colleges, and they've got two students who are pretty equivalent, and one has visited the school and one hasn't. Hands down, they say they'll accept the one who's visited the school. And why is that? It's because that student who has visited the school, the chances of them going to that school, if they visited, go up exponentially once they visit that school. And why is that? Because they've got now a connection with that school. Right? It's not just stats on a piece of paper or pictures on the internet. There's a connection. That school now has a personality. I visit schools all the time, and even though similar schools have similar stats, they're like two different people. And so that's certainly one of the reasons. And it's important because how in the world are you supposed to know what school is the right fit for you if you don't go to visit the school? How do you decide to? And look, are you going to visit every single school on your list? Maybe if you start a year early, you will. But if you don't visit the school, how do you know if that school is good for you? Like I said, I go to visit schools all the time. And when you walk on campus, I mean, look, it's really important if you can to visit schools when the students are in session, right? Certainly there's plenty of times where you have to visit them during the summer. But when you go to visit a school, every school has a certain vibe. And can I say to you exactly what it is? Whether, yes, the front people who are the person who's taking on the tour, the admissions counselor, always sign in, by the way. Oh, you want to make sure you sign in, go to the information session and go on the tour, because that way they know you're there. But, sometimes students will come back to me and say, well, why is it that you liked that school? Well, for some people, I really liked some of the students I spoke to. I really liked what they said that, because in the information session, what they said that school's about. I walked on campus and I just felt right. I see the student body and I can relate to them. I had a student who went to just go visit American, and I have one of my students who loves American. He got accepted, can't wait to go there. And another one who said to me, I walked on campus and it's just, I don't feel I'm going to fit in. And so it's really about a feeling. Every time I go to visit a school, I have a feeling about the campus. So I always say to myself, this, and this student of mine, I can see it. And that's why it's important to take the time, to take that year to really understand what it is that you want. Because it's just as good to visit a school that you don't like, end up not liking, that you visit a school that you do like, because then you know what you don't like, and then you can move on from there and say, okay, those kind of schools I don't want. It's an interesting thing. And there's certainly way more than one college for every student. But it's hard to bring it all down. That are close-knit, right, and very interactive with their students. There's some schools, obviously on the opposite end of the spectrum, that are huge. But there's some students that are totally fine with that, and that's what they want. And there's some students that wouldn't thrive in that environment at all. And so it's hard. It's a process, and that's why doing it sooner rather than later is important.